everybody. This is Lloyd with Just Got Played. I am here with, I'm probably pointing in the wrong spot because my screen probably doesn't match, but somewhere on this screen we have Erock and Steven. And today we are going to go over our top plays for August. Is it August? Yeah.
August 2022.
Yeah. August 2022. If you haven't joined us for one of these videos before, what we do. I'm terrible at talking. We basically give our top play of the previous month-ish time frame, somewhere in the past 30 to 40 days that we played, and we tell you all about it. And let's go ahead and start off with that guy. Who am I pointing at?
On my screen, that's me.
Okay, cool.
There you go.
Steven. I wanted to see if I was pointing at Erock. Because on my screen, I'm pointing at you.
So, I've talked about before how I'll get a game and I'll play it and I'll like it. But then if I can play it with my kids and my kids enjoy it, that raises the game, right, for me. Because not only can I enjoy it more often, but also, I see that they like it. And so just in general, I think it's a better game at that point. And it's even better when my kids, after playing it, without prompting, ask to play the game again. Sometimes right away, but often the next day or the next weekend or something. And so recently, in August, we got to play Return to Dark Tower. Is that the name of it? Return to Dark Tower. I just call it Dark Tower now. I mean, I have the original, the Dark Tower, but I still just call this Dark Tower now. We only played it co-op, but yeah, we've played this a couple of times now because they want, they asked to play it. It's a little bit of a bear to set up, so I'm not like, sure, let me just whip that out, right? Like it has to be the weekend, and we have to have a block of time and all that, and it does take a while to play. As you can expect with 8-year-old kids, they're a little slow to take their turn or whatever. One of my kids, this game, is a co-op as it's designed. There's a competitive mode to sort of throw back to the old original Dark Tower, but one of my kids doesn't quite fully get co-op, right? Like he doesn't want to give up his stuff. Like, hey, let me grab that sword from you so I can go fight this thing. Like, no, I want my sword. So it's funny, but we played the game we won, we played the game we lost, and either way, it was still fun. And just everything that you get to do in this game, it's very interactive. It's got an app which we put on a tablet on the table, and you can go crawling through the dungeon and choosing which rooms to go to. You choose which cards you want to fight for the enemy. You choose how many of these what are they called? The special things that you get to use to reduce the power of the cards that you fight. The name of those.
Oh,
advantages.
Yeah.
You get a number of advantages depending on the type of foe you're fighting and how you built your character. And you got to deal with the corruption from the skulls. The skulls come flying out of the tower, and if you don't take care of those, you get corruption. There's just so much going on in this game, but it's not too much. It's not too much for my kids to handle. And it's very thematic. You get to choose which monsters you're going to fight. You get to choose which boss you're going to fight when you're setting up. The tower whirs around and growls at you and makes other noises. And even just something as simple as removing the seal from the tower, right? Like it's spinning around and lighting up, and then you remove a seal from the tower and 6 skulls might come pouring out. Like that's just a fun moment for my kids, like, oh, can I pull the seal? Can I pull the seal off? So, previously I had only played this game with adults, and I like the game with adults. It's a solid game, but then I played it with kids, and it's just even better now for me. So there you go. That is my top play for August, Return to Dark Tower from Restoration Games.
That's interesting. Do you think it kind of has the same effect on your kids as it had on us when we were kids, where it's like this big giant tower making noises and this big thing going on, so it's like attractive to them? You know what I'm saying? Like in this almost the same kind of way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the first game that I have played with them that used an app. I mean, we had the timer app for 5-Minute Marble, which is not quite the same thing. I mean, it's almost just a timer with some thematic music or whatever. But this is the first time that we've done a really seriously app-enabled board game, and they like video games, so that sort of tie it together. Certainly the theatrics here which are very heavily, based on what's going on in the tablet and the tower. The tower isn't necessary, right? Like, I mean,
Right.
it's, but it's a component that just brings out the theme, and kids get into that, right? So yeah, absolutely. The production here is top notch, and I think that's one of the reasons the kids like it so much.
Nice.
All right, yeah. I as we've talked about before, my first play, I was kind of meh on it, and I think maybe it had something to do with company. But the second play was pretty fun. We got destroyed because someone tried to be the hero and wouldn't back down. But yeah, I can, I can see. My kids are all grown now, but yeah, I had a lot of games that I like to play with them. So yeah, that does elevate it, because you don't have to get a game crowd together. Just like, hey kids, let's go, let's play something. So, Erock, what was your top play for August?
Usually we have these, and I tell you, it was such a hard month. We played so many good games. All right, it's true. We did play a lot of good games, but this was a slam dunk for me. We finally got a Feast for Odin to the table, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. This is like Euro gamer heaven right here, is a Feast for Odin. I am absolutely in love with this game. I play it on Board Game Arena all the time. It's the thing that intimidates you is the thing that you grow to love or hate. So just as a very brief, this is a worker placement game in which there are, in the base game, 61 actions available at any point in time. So that's a little intimidating for everybody, including myself. I'm a pretty hardcore board gamer, and it's like, wow, 61. Wow, seriously? But it's really organized in a way so that if you're taught well, it makes a lot of sense. Like, everything in a row is basically the same thing. And then the columns, like, this is one worker, this one's two workers, this one's three workers. So it really starts to mesh and make a lot of sense, even like halfway through your first game. I've probably played this 8 or 10 times, and we just played it for the first time. So I'm telling you, like, that's how in love with this game I am. The options are amazing. Now, again, it's intimidating if you're a new player, because you don't understand, like, there's so many different things that you can do in this game. And the really cool thing, in my opinion, is that all of it is valid. There's always a good option. I think newer players kind of get stuck on, this is what I want to do. And then maybe somebody jumps on their space, and then that kind of throws them off. Whereas, like I said, after 4, 5, or 6 games, oh, I don't care. You want on my space? Whatever. This over here is a great space for doing this over here is a great space. I could go over here and get some things, I think it's fantastic. There's almost no way to get shut out of doing something. I think that the game changes depending upon how the people play it. Because I've seen where people will say, like, well, this is a dominant strategy or that's a dominant strategy, but not really. It's really just about what's going on in the game that you're in. Like, for instance, you can pillage and do very well, but if everybody's doing that, then that's not how you're going to win, because everybody's doing that. So you got to find something else to hone in on. And the game is chock full of different things to hone in on. I didn't even mention it, but the whole point of getting all of this stuff is to do a little polyomino game on your own board, and you can get more boards. You can get island boards and house boards and shed boards, and you can just keep loading all this stuff on your boards. Everything is minus points when you get it, and then when you fill up the spaces, it takes that minus off, which then gives you the value of the board itself. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but as an example, there might be an island that's worth 32 points, but it comes with minus 40 on it. So all these little squares will have -1. So as you cover them, then you're taking the minus away and getting into the positive points. And this is basically how this game works in all ways. Like I said, I'm not going to get too deep into it. Being that there's 61 different actions, I could probably spend an hour and a half telling you about all the different things in there. But if you're at all curious about it, check it out. I probably am not going to tell you go out and buy it, because it is a bit much. It takes a little bit of patience. But once you buy in and believe, I think it's one of the best games. This is going in my top 20, if not my top 10 of all time. I absolutely love it. Slam dunk.
So I got to ask here, because I'm not sure my brain processed this. Did you say you've played A Feast for Odin 8 to 10 times in a month?
That is correct. Now, a lot of those were on Board Game Arena. So
are you okay,
fair,
man? Did you get sleep? Do you need an intervention?
No, I'm good. We just need to wrap this up so I can go play, basically, okay?
No.
Excellent. But yeah, I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. I'm kind of an Uwe guy, but not like an Uwe guy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm an Uwe guy. I love Bonanza.
Right? Like, I like Agricola, however you want to say it. That's fine, but it's really punishing with feeding the people. And then Caverna, well, this is better. This is just a totally different league. I'm not saying it's the same style of game, because it's not. Those are more like building up a little base that you then, use to grow things and feed your people. It's not exactly like that. It's a different kind of a beast, but it's, in my opinion, his most excellent work of all time, and I'll play it anytime.
I will not. That sounds horrifying.
Yes, it is
on a turn.
Euro greatness, and there is not a lot of theme. Okay, it's Viking stuff, but that's about it, really.
That'll be at the bottom of my Viking games list. So my top play didn't have 61 actions you could do on a turn, but it did have a Mad Max theme. So recently I got Wasteland Express delivery service off someone on Facebook. I got it, and I always wanted. It got set up one time at Dice Tower or Escape, one of the cons, and the person who was teaching it to us got us all the way through the setup, and then he realized he had to go somewhere or something, so he didn't actually get through how you actually play. So we spent 20 minutes doing all the setup and getting everything ready to go. And then he was like, oh, look at the time. I got to go. So I've never played it, but I like my Wasteland themes. I have Defenders up there and Thunder Road, and I've got the new Thunder Road coming next year. So that's one of my favorite themes. So Wasteland, I'm just going to call it Wasteland Express. I'm not saying the whole thing every time. It is a simple pick up and deliver game with a bunch of combat in it. So it's got a bunch of variants in the end, but for the most part, you're not fighting each other. At the beginning of the game, you're going to set out 3 public objectives. These are called priority contracts, and you need to complete 3 priority contracts to win the game. There's no points. It's just the first person to get 3 priority contracts wins. So those are the public ones, but then you'll get dealt, there's different factions in the game. So you get dealt a mission from each faction, and you choose one of those, and then you can get more throughout the game. So they're not necessarily all private or priority contracts. Some of them are just get money, get stuff, and they won't count towards the end game. The trade-off for doing the priority contracts is you will not get monies or stuff when you do them. All you're getting is, I get one of my little standees and I put it there to mark that I'm 1/3 of the way done with the game. So you have to kind of balance doing regular contracts just to get money so that you can buy more supplies and sell stuff to different people so that you can get enough stuff to be able to complete those contracts and not hurt yourself. I didn't do that. I focused too much on one of my private contracts, and I was struggling in the mid game because I had no money and I had no stuff, and so I couldn't buy stuff. I had to do the slow route to get money. But the game's got kind of a cool little action point system. You get 5 actions per turn, but you can only take 1 action at a time. So they have these little gears, and your little board has movement, and then it's got up at the top, it's got fighting, and then pillaging, and then off to the side, it's got buy, sell, or buy, deliver, and forgot what the other one was. Bonus. And there's one other one. I forgot what it is. But essentially what you can do is you take one of your little action points, you move it onto your board, and everything starts pretty much with movement. you go into movement, and from there you get to move X amount of spaces. And then you can choose to end your turn there and not take another action. Even though I said there's only one action per turn, you can take 2 actions, but they all come right out of movement. So say I want to go and deliver something. I move my thing into move. I move 3 spaces or 4 spaces, whatever it is. I end up in a spot that I want to sell. And then I can take my little mover, my little gear that's in the movement section, and slide it over into the sell action, which I can only do so many sell actions per round. I can only fight so many times per round. And what that does is it allows you to take 2 actions, but at the cost of your momentum. So if you don't take a second action on your next turn, whenever you place your action token into move, you'll go into the next spot. So now you'll get to keep getting faster as you go, because basically you're driving these big rigs. So throughout the turn, through the round, as long as you don't take a second action, you'll keep getting faster and faster, so you can cover more and more of the map. And that's kind of the basic gist of the game. It's pick up and deliver, but it's got combat. There's 3 different enemy factions. They have little trucks on the board that move around. It's not really a board, it's a modular setup. There's these octagons, and then all the bases that you deliver to are little squares that go in between all the connected octagons. They're all double-sided, so your setup can be completely random every time. But there's 3 little trucks. They carry supplies. If you roll into a space with them, you can fight them. If you win, you can pillage and get their stuff. So it's free supplies for you. And then that's pretty much it. There's some variants where you can fight with other players. But for the most part, you can mess with other players by moving the trucks towards them or into their space. But that's about it. There's not a whole lot of like competitive interaction there, but you can add it to the game. They do have a mode to allow you to fight each other. But that was my top play. It was new. I played some other stuff, but I've been wanting to play this for so long. So that was my top play, Wasteland Express Delivery Service.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not a huge fan of pick up and deliver games, but this was on my list once upon a time as a game, like before it came out, that I wanted to check out. I like the sort of post-apocalyptic theme in games. But then, I took a closer look at it, and I really didn't like the art. For some reason, the art in this game turned me off. And so then I decided, because of that, I just, never did seek it out, right? I mean, there's so many games to play. You can't play them all. So it doesn't take much to just sort of bump it off your list. I mean, if I was at somebody's house and they're like, hey, we're going to play this, I'd be like, okay, sure, I'd play it. Or my friends are playing at a con, like somebody can teach it. Sure, I'll play or whatever. But I just, I don't know. Something about the art just made me be like, I guess I'll pass on this one.
This was on my radar for quite a while, too. I just never got around to getting it or playing it or whatever. It's like you said, there's just too many good games. I mean, there's 2 good examples right here just in this list. I mean, no offense, Steve, yours is a more recent game, but both Lloyd's and mine, these are older games. Yeah. And I just played mine the first time this month, and he just played his the first time this month. So even the people that do this, like, I do this. I play games all the time. Like, I'm not seeing everything. I can't. It's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, there are thousands of games released every year. I keep a list, and I typically play 80 to 100 new games to me every year, right?
And there's thousands.
Yeah, and there's just thousands that come out, so you can't play them all.
Nor would I want to.
No,
right?
No.
that win-loss ratio there on thousands of games that come out, which ones are ones that I would actually want to play is probably pretty low. I have like a very small window of games I like.
Yeah, that's the game within a game.
Yeah.
The game within a game is finding the game that you're actually going to like in all of that chaff out there.
I mean, I'm getting better at judging for myself whether I think, I'll like a game before I play it. But on the same flip side, we go to cons, right? And we go to game stores to play with people. I was at a game store and there was a guy and he was playing everything with us. And then he was like, he really wanted to play Kittens in a Blender, right? And I knew I was going to hate that game. But he wanted to play it. he's been playing games with it. So I'm like, sure, whatever. I'll play the game with you. I've never played it anyway. So who knows? Maybe I'll like it. Spoiler, I did not like it. But, I know I'm not going to like it. And, also we get some indie games for the channel to review. And some of those are just not good, right? It's all right. But, we'll play games. I'll give people feedback. I give designers feedback on games, so I think more than just casual game players, we play some bad games. But yeah, there's so many good games out there. And I do feel like I'm getting better at sort of picking and choosing the games I'm going to like to play.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. At the same time, though, they get trickier with the way they present them, so it doesn't always come across the way you think it will. I just always say you got to play it one time. I mean, and usually you got to play a game more than one time, but give it a chance because you just never know. There's a lot of games that I thought, well, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen, or the stupidest name I've ever heard, or something like that, and then it ends up being one of my favorites. And the opposite's true. I can't tell you how many times I got like super excited over some Kickstarter or something, and then it got to the house and we played. It was like, oh, that's it, okay, Yeah, and then it's out the door.
I'll watch a reviewer talk about a game, and or somebody even doing a playthrough, something that you would think that's pretty close. I should know now whether I'm like that game, watching a playthrough. But sometimes the person who is playing it is so enthusiastic about it because they enjoy it that it sort of oversells it to me. Not that they're trying to oversell it, but mentally I sort of think like, oh, that would be an interesting decision. Oh, that would be fun. And then I play it with my group, and I want to have
fun.
Right. But also, like you said, I played Furnace for the first time. And it's a game that I thought I was really going to like. And then I played it and I was like, I don't like this game. But then I played it again and I threw out the asymmetric power cards, which I think are wildly unbalanced. And then when I played it that second time, I was like, oh, this is a good game. This is the game that I wanted it to be. So yeah, sometimes you got to mix it up, do a variant, change something, or maybe you had a rule wrong. Hey, we've all played a game with a rule wrong, right?
Absolutely.
So,
not me. Yeah. It's usually my fault.
I got a perfect record.
Excellent. Is that a perfect winless record?
What was that? Shots fired.
That's how I am. I'm just saying. I'm usually the explainer, and there's usually at some point I go, wait, hold on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, I'm about to do this thing that's going to score me a bunch of points, and I forgot to explain this earlier. But just let you know.
No, my thing is, that thing we've been doing for 3 rounds? That's not how you do that. We're going to change now. So.
Oh, I never change. I'm always like, oh, we'll just keep doing it this way. Next time we play, we'll change.
Yeah.
Not me. I'm like, I don't know. It's like a compulsion. It's like, now that I know the right rule, we have to play the right rule. You have to play the rules. I mean, come on.
Hey, it's your game. You don't have to play the rules. Make up your own.
That's just chaos, Lloyd. Oh my God. Chaos.
All right. Well, I am Lloyd. That is maybe, I think that's Steven. That's where we pointed before. That means Erock's down there, or maybe he's above me. I don't know. I can't see the screen. We are Just Got Played. Make sure to check down in the description for links to all of our social medias, like Discord. Come and chat with us, fight with us there. Tell us why, Erock's wrong. Make your own rules. That's it for this month. Tune in next month for, I guess we'll be in September, right?
Yeah.
Top plays in September. Coming to you in October.
All right. Anything else, guys?
Thanks, y'all. No, I'm done.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Have a great day, or night, or morning, whatever it is where you're at.